You've likely never heard of Termessos, but if you've ever dreamt of stumbling upon a lost city like Hiram Bingham did with Machu Picchu, or weaving through wild ancient ruins like Indiana Jones, minus the booby traps, then this place should be at the top of your list. Hidden high in the mountains above Antalya in southwest Turkey, this forgotten stronghold oozes discovery. There's few signs, no crowds, and barely a guardrail in sight. Just ancient stones, wild forest, and a sense that you've stepped straight into the pages of a long-forgotten civilization. In this video, I'll take you around these remote but surprisingly accessible ruins tucked high in the Taurus Mountains. Stay tuned till the end to see the stunning crown jewel of the city. Only about 30 kilometers from the bustling Turkish beach city of Antalya is a place that feels like another world, the ruins of Termessos, one of the most underrated and best preserved ancient cities in the Mediterranean. At over 1,000 meters above sea level, Termessos was built by the Pisidians, a tough, independent people who knew how to pick a good hiding spot. Even Alexander the Great didn't mess with them. When he came through in 333 BC, he took a look at the city's fortress-like cliffs and walls and decided not to bother. Over time, the city became part of the wider Greek, then Roman worlds, and thrived during the imperial period, drawing wealth from nearby olive groves and trade routes. And many of its grand buildings, temples, baths, an agora, and a theater were built during this era. Sometime around the 5th century, the city was mysteriously abandoned. Since this region is seismically active, over the centuries, earthquakes have tumbled many of the walls and structures of the former city, but a lot remains standing. But because of its remote location, these ruins have stayed remarkably intact. If Termessos had been located on the floor of the valley below, nothing would be left of it today. People would have hauled away the hundreds of thousands of precisely cut blocks long ago to be repurposed into other buildings. So Termessos today is a bit like what I imagine Machu Picchu or Angkor Wat looked like 100 years ago. Jungle covered, unrestored, and blissfully quiet. Termessos has no crowds, no souvenir stands, and barely any signs it has been discovered by the modern world. First, let's talk about how to get there. Antalya, on the turquoise coast of the Mediterranean southwest Turkey, has a very affordable and well-served airport, bringing in beach-seeking tourists from all over the world. If you have a car, it's a short drive out of town to Guluk Dağ, or Guluk Mountain National Park. At the entrance gate, you'll pay an equivalent of about €3 per person to access the park. Right after the gate, there's a small but strangely empty visitor center and large picnic grounds. Since there's no restaurants or food vendors in the park, I'd suggest bringing a picnic and enjoying it here, either before or after you head up the mountain. From there, you'll drive on a paved but narrow winding road, climbing 9 kilometers up into the mountains, until the road ends at a quiet parking lot with a few ruins scattered nearby. Now feel free to look around, but the real treat you have to hike to. So I'd suggest first taking a photo of the map at the trailhead. The few signs that are posted in the ruins have numbers on their posts. These correlate with numbers on the map, so you can have a rough idea of where you are when navigating the city. The trail to the main ruins is about a 15 to 20-minute hike uphill. It's not that difficult, and much of it is shaded by trees, but it is rocky and uneven, with some steep sections. There's no cafes or facilities, so bring plenty of water, wear solid shoes, and bring trekking poles if you have them, and expect to break a sweat. A few minutes into the hike, you'll start to see hints of the civilization that was once here. The first large structures you'll encounter are fragments of the city wall and the main entrance gate. But the first relatively intact building is the Bath Gymnasium complex. Now, it still looks pretty good considering it's had zero maintenance in the last 1,500 years. There's many standing walls and the remains of vaulted ceilings, and it's definitely worth a wander. But like all of the site, be careful. Nothing is roped off, restored, or curated. It's a bit of a Tomb Raider situation. You'll scramble over rubble, duck under ivy-covered archways, and walk next to precipitous drops. But that's what makes it so special compared to most archaeological sites. You know, if you visit Rome, most of your experience seeing ruins will be staring at a foundation and a few restored columns from 10 meters away. At Termessos, you are literally scrambling through the ruins. Now, as you explore, you'll pass by the agora, the heart of the city's public life. Littered with the remains of grand colonnades and statue bases, this was once a bustling marketplace and civic center. Nearby, you'll see a few protective metal grates. Look down into them and you'll see the still intact series of huge cisterns, each about 10 meters deep that once stored and collected rainwater to sustain the city. Nearby are the scattered ruins of temples, some dedicated to Zeus Solimus, the city's main god, and Artemis. Some are well preserved, others are just scattered stones, but all will give you the feeling that you've stumbled into something unknown, wild, and ancient. On the fringes of the city, there's also the necropolis, the ancient cemetery, where massive stone sarcophagi lie amongst the pine trees or are carved into rock faces. Depending on your interest and how much time you have, there are hundreds of tombs scattered about for you to discover. But the true highlight of Termessos is the theater, and it's well worth saving for last. Carved into the mountainside, this Roman-era structure once seated about 4,000 people, and although parts of it are clearly in ruins, a surprising amount is still intact. Today it offers one of the most unforgettable views in the ancient world. One side, rows of weathered stone seats. On the other, endless sky, distant valleys, and a sweeping panorama of the countryside and city of Antalya below. It feels like standing on the edge of the world. Now, being a former history teacher and avid traveler, I've been to a lot of Roman ruins around the Mediterranean and ancient sites all over the world. And I will say, the Theater of Termessos is one of the most unique and awe-inspiring ancient sites I have ever visited. It's up there with Petra, Baalbek, Machu Picchu, or Angkor. The stunning setting, enormous scale, and wild, unrestored state all combine to make it a place that will supercharge your sense of wonder. I'm so glad I went. And if you're seeking out an adventure to nurture your inner Lara Croft or Indiana Jones, I bet you would feel the same. Thanks for tuning in. A subscribe is sincerely appreciated and helps me to continue the channel.